Will Hammock and Todd Klein back with you on GPR. Just a reminder to join us online at GwinnettPrepRally.com, where we have the world-famous message board and video highlights. And you can also keep up with GPR on Twitter and on our Facebook fan page, so be sure to give us a like. Time now to recap the other teams that were in action this past Friday night. It's brought to you by Breda Pest Management. And we start off with the Tequila Falcons. They lost their season opener to Norcross, but got some payback in the first round.
Yeah, it was a tough loss for a Norcross team that a lot of people thought had a chance to go very deep in the playoffs, but what a great win for Tequila. Rocky Capobianco scoring there with 12 seconds left to get the win, and just a great drive there at the end to methodically move it down the field and get the touchdown that earned a game with Noonan in the next round. And now I think this is a Tequila team that showed a lot of talent. They can maybe do a lot of great things in the playoffs. They have the offensive playmakers we've talked about a lot, Capobianco, and also Marcus Cox. He's a guy that can do a lot, and you can't really sleep on that Grayson, the Tequila defense, which is very good also.
And then it's the typical ho-hum first-round game for the Buford Wolves, who pretty much treat the first couple rounds of the playoffs just like regular season games, and they just romped over Temple once again.
Yeah, you have to go pretty deep for it to be even an interesting game for Buford. Really took care of Temple. Temple showed a lot of fight in this one, scored some points there on the Wolves, even scored a first half touchdown. So it's great to see for the Wolves to have a little test there early, but really just took care of business like they always do. Sam Clay showed what he can do throwing the ball, 142 yards, and you know Buford's going to run the ball and pound it with guys like Andre Johnson.
Well, our special thanks to Breda Pest Management for bringing us the weekend recap. And Will, talking about that Tequila team, like you said, I think you're starting to get a feel for them and kind of what they can do in the playoffs, especially because of that quarterback.
Yeah, he's a great player over there. I mean, just a great Tequila team. A lot of skilled guys on offense that can really move the ball in a variety of ways. But that defense has just been exceptional all season. That's something that stood out to me. I mean, that's a very talented Norcross team with a lot of playmakers. To hold those guys in check like they did really showed what the Tequila defense can do.
And then going back to Buford, it gets difficult to even really ask a lot of great questions when they're winning these games so easily. I guess my question is, when do you expect that they will get this test, or will they this year?
I just don't see them being tested. I mean, I just think this is such a good football team, such a loaded, deep football team, maybe the best football team they've ever had. With all the senior class has so many top-level players, and then you look at the guys behind them. I mean, I think their backups could make a pretty good run through the AA playoffs. So just a very deep team. I look for them to win the state title, and probably in dominating fashion.
Time now for Will's World. We put 60 seconds on the clock. We get into the mind of our very own Will Hammock, and it's brought to you by Next Star Communications.
Yeah, first I want to talk about the North Gwinnett running backs, Joe Jones and Donnie Miles, both excellent football players. I think that's really going to make a difference for North in the playoffs. Everybody knew Scotty Hosch was a great quarterback, and he showed that last week in the first round, but adding that dimension to the running backs, I think Miles and Jones really complement each other well with their skills. They're really going to be factors as North goes into the playoffs because they can run the ball so well. And that's some recruiting news over at Parkview. Patrick Flo, a guy that's made a lot of plays for Parkview the last few seasons. Coach Cecil Flo's son is going to Georgia Southern, which is good to see. He's a great player, a great kid, and we've known him for a long time, since he's a little bitty kid. So to see him being a linebacker at Georgia Southern, which is one of the premier 1AA programs in the country, is great to see. More recruiting news for Collins Hill. Sam Batiste, a big defensive lineman. They like him as a defensive end or defensive tackle. He had a handful of college offers, probably 12 or 13 college offers, but he chose to go to Harvard. Very smart kid, and he gets a lot done on the football field, but certainly does in the classroom too. Said all along he wanted to go to Harvard, and as the offer started piling up for him, he stuck with it, really wanted to go to Harvard, had that opportunity, and he earned a lot of scholarship money to go there.
Well, congratulations to him for earning that scholarship to Harvard. Will, going back, talking about that running back tandem at North, I think this North team looks like probably the best one they've had over there. Is that your agreement, and how do you think that running game is going to stack up as they move deeper into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think it is the best team they've had, just because the offensive balance is great. I mean, they can throw the ball, they can run the ball, and then that defense that everybody's been talking about all season. So fast and so athletic, get it all over the place, and it's very tough to move the ball in any sort of way against this group, and I think most teams are going to find that out in the playoffs.
Well, thanks again to Next Star Communications for sponsoring Will's World. Time now to focus on standout performances, so let's move on to this week's building blocks, presented by Britt's Home Furnishing. And first up is Brookwood's B.J. Sammon, who made the big play in their win over Peachtree Ridge.
Yeah, probably the smallest guy on the field, but he made the biggest plays all night long. 3 catches, 132 yards, 3 touchdowns, had a 42-yard completion, ran for the game-winning 8-yard touchdown right here. He also had the big game-tying touchdown catch. When Brookwood needed a play, he was the guy that got it done, him and Zach Moon on the passing game.
And this next guy, you would not think it would have been in a losing cause, but Diandre Atwater had a playoff game that should really go down in history if they'd won this game.
Yeah, he's a load to tackle. He's finally healthy. His ankle's feeling better, and he really showed what he can do in this one. He's a guy that I think colleges really need to get on him and start looking at him. I don't know what his offer situation is right now, but he's a guy that can definitely be a good college running back because he's so strong and powerful and very tough to tackle.
And here's a guy, if it's possible to be on a really good football team and be underrated, I think Scotty Hosch is a little bit, maybe just because North is so good.
Yeah, he was just about perfect in this one. 25 out of 27, 252 yards, 3 touchdowns. Really showed what he can do in the passing game. It was on the money all night long. Just if he passes the ball like that to complement this great running game in North Gwinnett, it's going to be very tough to stop the Bulldogs in the playoffs.
Well, our thanks to Britt's Home Furnishing for sponsoring the building blocks. And Will, those were all great efforts by those guys. Who else played well last week that we should mention?
I think it's time to talk about a little guy, Caleb Downs, a 6-year-old from Peachtree Ridge Youth Football Team in the Gwinnett Football League Finals. Playing on an 80-yard field, he had 12 carries, 330 yards, and 5 touchdowns as Peachtree Ridge won the 6-year-old GFL title. So a great game for Caleb, a nice win for those guys.
Yeah, congratulations, Caleb. I think you're the first GFL guy ever to get a mention on Prep Rally. So it's quite a thing to be proud of. Time now for Will to channel his inner Swami as we take a look at the second round of the playoffs, those matchups in Gwinnett County. It's brought to you by Tommy Lee Carpets. We call it Beat the Post. We'll give you a chance to do exactly that. Will, starting off Jefferson County at Buford. I'm going to guess that you're going to go with Buford in this one.
Yeah, Buford's going to win at least by 20, 30 points.
And then we have the Beulah team that you talked about. You like them. They're at home hosting Noonan. What's it look like in this game?
It's going to be a tough test. Noonan upset Valdosta in the first round, a very good Valdosta team. So it could be a very tough battle. Noonan's always got very good defense, but I really like the way Tequila's playing, and I think the Falcons are going to win.
Brookwood is the one Gwinnett team that has to go on the road. Not a very far trip, though, just over to DeKalb County. Can they get it done on the road against ML King?
Yeah, I think Brookwood's defense is going to bounce back. They've tended to play well against teams like this that spread it out and like to get the ball to a lot of playmakers. Really struggled last week with the power running game of Peachtree Ridge, but I don't think that's going to be a problem against MLK.
And Colquitt County comes to Gwinnett County. They're going to play North. How's it match up, Colquitt going against the Bulldogs?
I think it's the most interesting game of the week statewide. Coach Probst down there at Colquitt does a great job. There's exciting offense, state runner-up last season, and we all know how well North Gwinnett's playing. I think it's going to be a good game, but North's played a lot of big games this season, and the Bulldogs are going to win this one.
And finally, we always get this South Georgia versus North Georgia matchup. Lowndes, there'll be a lot of message board talking on this one. Lowndes coming to play Grayson. Does Grayson take care of business in this one?
I think Grayson definitely takes care of business. I mean, Lowndes has always got a pretty good football team, a lot of tradition, but definitely not one of the stronger Lowndes teams you'll see, and I think maybe the best Grayson team that we've seen. So I look the Rams to win this.
Well, thank you to Tommy Lee Carpets for their continued support of Gwinnett Prep Rally. All right, we're out of time, but please join us next week for more highlights and features on Gwinnett Prep Rally every Tuesday through Friday right here on GCPS TV. And you can go to GwinnettPrepRally.com for all the scheduling details. For Will Hammock and all of us here at GPR, I'm Todd Klein. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you under the lights.
Grab some wood there, bub.